For a Palestinian perspective, I'm joined live on the news track now by Janna, Jihad, Ayyad, Al-Tamimi, well-known Palestinian journalist and activist. She's been reporting from the age of 7, several of her videos describing and explaining the situation in Palestine and bringing that reality to the world. You see some of them on your screen right now. She's been reporting from the age of 7. Joining us now from Ramallah, Nabi Saleh. Thank you very much, Janna Tamimi, for joining us on the news track. I was speaking to a spokesperson in the Israeli Prime Minister's office, and the point that the government of Benjamin Netanyahu is making is very emphatic, and it is this. This is a war started by the Hamas. This is a war that Israel will continue till the time the Hamas has been destroyed completely. It's not a war that Israel wanted, but it's a war that Israel will finish. You've got a lot of friends, acquaintances in the West Bank. What are you picking up from there about the current situation on the ground, Janna?
Of course. First off, thank you for giving me the opportunity to talk about what's going on here in Palestine. First off, I think one important thing for the international world, including you guys, to recognize is that this is not a war that has started the past week or that was started by Hamas the last weekend. It is an ethnic cleansing genocide, a Nakba, a catastrophe that started with the establishment of Israel in 1948. It's been ongoing for 75 years, where Israel has been committing constant war crimes in these past 75 years, committing genocides, ethnic cleansing Palestinians, forcefully kicking people out of their houses and taking over Palestinian lands, taking over Palestinian houses. So it's not something that has started in the past week. It's not a Hamas-started war. It's a military occupation. It's an apartheid system that has been ongoing on Palestinian lands and have been violating Palestinian rights for the past 75 years. And I believe this is something that the international world has failed to recognize, unfortunately, which is really surprising. The situation here in the West Bank, in the occupied West Bank specifically, is in a sense, of course, different than the situation in Gaza, because Gaza has been under Israeli siege. They've been in an open-air prison for the past 17 years, where Palestinians, over 2 million Palestinians, have been held hostages, have been in prison, in an open-air prison, in literally 365 kilometers squared, with more than 50% of the population comprised of Palestinian children in Gaza. They've been growing, they've been literally under the siege controlled by Israel, where all of their fundamental resources are controlled by Israel, where no one is allowed to go in, no one is allowed to go out. The situation in the West Bank is pretty different because we are under a direct military occupation by the Israeli occupation, where we have direct checkpoints, direct land attacks by the Israeli occupation forces. We have over 62% of the West Bank are illegal Israeli settlements that are constantly expanding. So the situation with the ongoing violence by Israel, especially in the past week, has been escalating in the West Bank, especially where Israeli illegal settlers have been carrying attacks on Palestinian civilians, on Palestinian villages, on Palestinian roads, with the protection of the IDF. It's been really terrible for everyone here.
Are you concerned that this battle could expand? It's not just the Hamas, that the Hezbollah could get involved, and then the battle goes from the Gaza Strip to the West Bank as well?
Again, what you're not getting is that this is not a battle. This is not a conflict. It's not two sides of equal powers. We're talking about Israel, a nuclear power, and the Palestinian community, which are people who have been under apartheid for the past 75 years. So if anything, I'm actually concerned about not actually the international world failing to hold Israel accountable for their constant war crimes, for their ongoing genocides, for their ongoing catastrophe that has been going on for the past 75 years, for violating every Palestinian child's rights, and for violating our childhoods and killing Palestinians, murdering Palestinians, arresting Palestinians, annexing land, taking land illegally. So that's what I'm concerned about.
how has life been in the West Bank? And from what you're picking up of the Gaza Strip, we're now being told that the Israelis have given instructions for electricity to be restarted, but before that, it seemed as if there's a massive humanitarian crisis that was building up.
Yes, the humanitarian crisis in Gaza, as I said, has been ongoing since Israel has literally have taken over the control of the resources, including electricity, water, food, internet, that has been going into Gaza for the past 17 years. And especially in the past couple of days, we've seen Israeli politicians come up and describe Palestinians as animals and having to deal with them as animals, calling the Israeli government to cut off electricity, to cut off water, to cut off internet, to cut off medical aid. And we've seen that actually being applied in the past couple of days. We've actually witnessed multiple hospitals literally fall, where they're not able to provide the civilians who are getting injured and who are getting bombed constantly with any medical aid. We've seen Israeli airstrikes throwing bombs at ambulances, at any medical aids that are trying to be provided to the people in Gaza, where they've even bombed the Rafah crossing between Gaza and Egypt, leaving nowhere for the Palestinians to go. So yes, it's the humanitarian crisis is an extremely bad crisis in Gaza, where Israel are treating people as animals, which they've been doing for the past 75 years.
Well, we'll leave it over there for the time being. This is a very difficult time for anybody in Palestine, whether it's in the West Bank or in the Gaza Strip. Janna, Jihad, Ayyad, Al-Tamimi for joining us on the News Strike. Thank you, ma'am.
You're welcome.
So we had an opportunity to listen to a young Israeli voice, a young Palestinian voice. These are common people who are caught in the midst of this brutal fighting, where the Israeli government, the IDF, now going all out to try and destroy the Hamas.